Welcome back. To begin, I must acknowledge that what I did was terrible, and I deeply regret it. I recognize that I need to make amends and start doing the right thing from now on, and I hope to begin that process here. I, 29 female, had been in a relationship with my boyfriend, 29, for about 5 years. Due to an internship program for both of us in our respective fields, we endured a long-distance relationship for the past 5 months. Although we managed to visit each other during the first 2 months and last bit of winter break, we were unable to see each other at all during the next months. This caused significant strain on our relationship throughout the period, and I felt that we were drifting apart. We've always been the best friends with the same interests, same friend group since college, but in those few months, I felt he was starting to diverge and indulge in more interests. A small fact about myself is that I'm an introvert and I have trouble forming relationships. So this internship left me feeling unsatisfied, and I think my constant nagging to my boyfriend to come back home drove him away from me too. Over the course of those 2-3 months, I had sexual encounters with other men, and it's important to mention that I was sober during these incidents. At the time, these encounters were merely physical to me, and I didn't mislead these men, but I intentionally omitted the fact that I had a boyfriend. Despite my actions, I never doubted my feelings for my boyfriend, and I genuinely meant it when I told him I love you every night. But the fact that I was unable to be closer to him drove me over the edge. I have never disclosed any of these encounters to him. My rationale, though I know it's messed up, was that I needed the physical intimacy that was lacking in our long-distance relationship. I'm fully aware that confessing this to him would not go over well, and he might not believe that I still loved him. So selfishly, I chose not to tell him to keep our relationship intact. But come this weekend, what do I open the door of my apartment to? My boyfriend, who had drove to be with me over the long weekend. We were together again, and everything seemed just like old times, until I was suddenly remembered of what I did. Now I feel awfully guilty, and I'm at a loss of what to do. Is it too late to tell him the truth? I fear that it would unnecessarily crush him. Please help. He's bound to drive back tomorrow. Should I tell him? I don't want to burden him with unnecessary information. He's only got about a month of his training, so I don't want to screw him over. In response to some quick questions I received, 1, yes, I genuinely love him, and I feel awful for what I did. 2, there are no STDs involved. I took precautions and got screened as well. Update 1. I didn't tell him. I weighed pros and cons, and I realized there were more cons than pros for both me and him. He has 1 more month to complete his training, at the end of which there'll be an assessment, so I want him fully focused on that. I do not want him being hurt, confused, angry, and overwhelmed trying to fix whatever that went wrong. I know he will blame himself for what happened, and I can't let that happen either. This is such a turning point in his career, so I feel justified in my decision. I have nobody else that I can seek advice from regarding a highly personal matter like this. But now I feel there's no reason to burden him with this information at all. I mean, like, ever. I fully understand the gravity of what I did, and I'll never repeat the same mistake again. I have no contact with any of the men I had sex with, nor do I even know who they are. They were some random bar hookups. I never even had the slightest inclination to cheat before, so I'm still questioning myself about what happened. Essentially, I have 2 options. 1, tell him and accept the consequences. The reason I want to tell him is not selfish. It's not about getting rid of regrets. The real reason is that I love him, and I feel at some level that he deserves the truth. Our relationship has always been built on open communication and honesty, and overall, it's been a very healthy one. Moreover, I feel he would blame himself and throw himself into repairing our relationship, though what happened was no fault of him. 2, not tell him. I'm aware that confessing would devastate him. He already struggles with anxiety, and the thought of what he would go through if he found out breaks my heart. Moreover, revealing the truth would not only affect our relationship but also disrupt our friend group, as I met them through him, and likely strain my relationship with his family. Additionally, it would shatter the trust between us, which would require significant effort to repair. If I choose not to tell him, my focus would be on the future of our relationship and improving myself as a person. In this scenario, I must also learn not to harbor self-hatred. I understand that regret is an awareness of my mistakes, and I want to turn it into a lesson to better myself and our relationship without breaking his heart. I want to focus on the future and not let the past ruin it. Do you have any advice on what I should do? Update. Hello, unfortunately things did not go according to the plan. After contemplating a lot, I made up my mind to not tell my boyfriend immediately, at least not till I make up my mind. Whenever that would be. But my boyfriend came back after his training completed and something happened. We got drunk together on our second night back together, and I had also made some brownies with weed in it, which is a favorite of ours. Sadly, I had forgotten how weed makes me lose all my inhibitions. Add alcohol to that and it's a disaster. I don't recall much from that night. I woke up the next day to find my boyfriend gone. I thought he had gone out to get us food and called him. He answered after I rang him like 5 times. Well, his emotions were still in turmoil and he hurled hurtful words at me, called me a hoe and an S-slang. I was taken aback because I had no idea, but he played some weird-ass recording of me going off on one of my one-night stands. And the weird thing is, I didn't even sound high. I apologized, expressing sadness and pain, giving reassurance that I love him and that I'm committed to change. But he said he could never trust me again. He no longer loves me, and he's absolutely certain he wants me gone from his life. I understand that my actions justify the idea of a separation, and I've been supportive of him going through these emotions. However, it was only a one-night stand, not a long-term affair. And I was only looking out for his emotional stability when I refused to disclose them to him. I find it hard to believe that he's genuinely processed everything and that this is a well-considered final decision. I shared with him the advice I received from my therapist, that it usually takes 4 to 6 months to adequately process and navigate the steps after a breach of trust. I suggested that he not rush into a decision until then. I told him that if he chooses therapy, opens up to his family and friends about his emotions, which he hasn't done yet, as he's only expressed himself to me and his best friend and still wants me gone, I will do just that. But he said I was full of shit and just hung up. He has not been very responsive since then, and it's been over a month. I'm in need of help and advice. While I know separation is a real possibility for us and I accept his decision because of what I've done, I'm not prepared to accept it just yet. I fear rushing into things when emotions are still intense and later regretting it. I feel broken, lost, and uncertain if I'm making the right choices. My boyfriend is my best friend, and he's the best thing that has ever happened to me. I love him more than anything and honestly can't envision a future without him. Our relationship has been smooth sailing up to this point with no major issues. I never thought he would resort to calling it quits on us without even attempting to fix what was broken. Please help me. Comments. In my personal opinion, if my partner committed such an act, I would consider giving them another chance only if they promptly confessed to me and agreed to certain conditions. In this case, it could include not going out drinking without me until trust was rebuilt, and cutting off all communication with the person they cheated with. However, if I were to discover on my own that my partner had cheated and had kept it hidden from me, it would mean the end of our relationship without any further discussion. If you had chosen to tell him and he decided to end the relationship, you would at least leave the situation with some sense of redemption, knowing that you owned up to your mistakes, accepted responsibility like an adult, and faced the consequences of your actions, but you didn't. So the only advice I can offer is, learn from your mistakes and strive to become a better person for your future relationships. If you truly love and respect the guy, it's essential to just let him be. He's done and he's not going to attempt to repair your relationship. Concealing what you did only led to the truth coming out later, as the truth has a way of revealing itself inevitably. If you were upfront and honest with him, he may have more respect for you and be more open to forgiveness than if you were to lie and hide it from him, which would involve cheating and deception. It's crucial to consider what's best for him, not just what benefits you or allows you to avoid facing the consequences. Mistakes happen to everyone, and now you must face the potential consequences and learn from this experience. If you'd like, feel free to send me a private message. I've been through a similar situation in my 2-year relationship, and we're still together, so I can offer some tips if you're interested.